London stands tense, bracing for a collision between spectacle and outrage, a city forced to watch as power parades itself behind closed gates. The hush is heavy, the sky brooding, as if the city itself resents what's about to unfold. In Windsor, the air reeks of privilege and exclusion. King Charles III welcomes President Donald Trump, their meeting a display of excess that ignores the anger simmering just beyond the castle's fortified walls. Gilded carriages, soldiers in outdated uniforms, and a banquet dripping with extravagance. These are relics of a system clinging to relevance, masking inequality with pageantry. Meanwhile, the real pulse of the city beats in the streets, where protest surges against this hollow display. Londoners gather, refusing to be silenced. For many, this visit is an insult, fueling outrage and resentment. The spectacle inside Windsor is seen for what it is, a distraction from the real crises facing the nation. The streets overflow with those who refuse to accept silence as an answer. Their march is a direct challenge to the complacency of those in power. The contrast is jarring. Empty ritual on one side, raw dissent on the other. The split screen exposes the deep rift between the rulers and the ruled. Protesters from every background stand united in their frustration, their faces etched with the demand for real change, not empty ceremony. This is more than a headline, it's a reckoning. Today's events will be remembered not for royal spectacle, but for the voices that refused to be ignored, forcing the nation to confront what it truly values. Windsor's pageantry unfolded as a calculated spectacle, an elaborate performance designed to uphold the illusion of royal relevance. The ancient stones of Windsor Castle, once symbols of power, now served as a backdrop for rituals that felt increasingly out of step with modern Britain. Every detail, from the rigidly polished boots to the fluttering banners, was orchestrated to distract from the monarchy's questionable place in a changing society. The gilded carriage procession and the imposing guard of honour were not just symbols, they were relics, clinging to a narrative of inherited privilege. For some, this was a hollow celebration, a reminder of a system that persists more out of habit than genuine public support. The rituals, repeated year after year, seemed less about national identity and more about preserving the status quo. Meanwhile, just a short train ride away, London was alive with a very different energy, one of defiance and dissent. The capital's streets became a battleground for democracy, as thousands gathered to reject the pageantry and demand real accountability from those in power. The marchers reflected the true face of Britain, diverse, outspoken, and unwilling to be silenced. Their presence was a stark contrast to the insular world of royalty, a reminder that the nation's future is shaped not by ceremony, but by the people who refuse to accept injustice. Placards reading "Dump Trump" and "No to Racism" cut through the noise, their messages impossible to ignore. Each sign was a rebuke to complacency, a demand for change, for equality, for a nation that stands for something more than outdated rituals and empty gestures. This was not a mindless mob, but a determined, spirited movement. Laughter and solidarity replaced the hollow pomp of Windsor, as strangers united in a shared refusal to accept the narratives imposed from above. The energy was not one of deference, but of resistance. The security operation was overwhelming, casting a shadow over the city. Police lined the streets, their presence a constant reminder of the lengths to which the establishment will go to maintain order and suppress dissent. Helicopters circled above, barriers divided the crowds, evidence of a system more interested in control than dialogue. Yet the protest remained peaceful, a testament not to the authorities, but to the discipline and resolve of the demonstrators. Protesters and police exchanged wary glances, the city's pulse steady despite the tension. It was a living challenge to the notion that order must come at the expense of freedom. Protesters declared, "Not in our name," their chants echoing through the streets, a direct challenge to decisions made behind closed doors. Each voice was a refusal to be complicit, a demand for accountability from those who claim to rule in the public interest. The police lines drew a clear boundary between authority and the people's will, a visible reminder of the gulf between rulers and the ruled. Even in a so-called modern democracy, the fight for true representation and justice is far from over. This was a tale of two Britons. On one side, the hollow rituals of monarchy. On the other, the restless energy of a public demanding to be heard. The contrast could not be starker. A nation at a crossroads, forced to confront the realities behind its carefully maintained facade. It forces us to ask, what does it mean to be British in the 21st century? The answer is not found in gilded carriages or ancient castles, but in the courage to question, to protest, and to demand a future that belongs to everyone. In the heart of London, the crowd surged, a living, breathing wall of outrage. This was no narrow protest. It was a flashpoint for deep, festering discontent. Fury erupted, not just at Trump's divisive policies, but at the rot in society itself. The spectacle of a lavish state visit, while public services bled from cuts, stoked bitter resentment. The parade of billionaires and elites only confirmed suspicions. This was a pageant for the privileged, detached from reality. Protesters called out racism and the normalization of xenophobia, refusing to let it pass unchallenged. The anger ran deeper, against a rigged system, always tilted toward the powerful few. This was a battle cry for democracy itself, a warning that the soul of the nation was at stake. The protests didn't just target Trump, they exposed deep anger at the monarchy itself. Abolish the monarchy wasn't just a slogan, it was a blunt rejection of the institution and its relevance. The monarchy stands accused, outdated, undemocratic, and clinging to power by birthright. King Charles's choice to honour Trump was a calculated political move, far from neutral and impossible to ignore. The royal family's carefully crafted image crumbled against the reality of public outrage. The anger wasn't just personal, it was a direct attack on the very idea of inherited rule. The message was clear. People demand democracy, not privilege passed down through bloodlines. This state visit didn't unite the nation. It tore open a debate about the monarchy's place in our future. For a growing number, the answer is clear. The king and the monarchy no longer belong. Protesters unleashed a wave of creativity, sharp wit, and justified outrage. This was no ordinary march. It was a public spectacle, a living rebuke played out on the streets. Banners dripped with sarcasm, and stunts cut through the noise, seizing the public's attention. Satire was everywhere. Costumes and puppets mocked the powerful without restraint. A guerrilla art projection on Windsor Castle, a symbol of entrenched privilege, was a bold act of defiance. The message was clear. The scandals and controversies surrounding Trump would not be ignored or glossed over. Homemade signs became weapons, artful, biting, and unafraid to condemn. Humour here was razor-sharp, a tool for exposing hypocrisy and resisting with intellect, not just anger. The protest spectacle was impossible to ignore, a challenge to authority, not a celebration of it. The world watched as resistance took centre stage, vivid, unyielding, and impossible for the establishment to dismiss. At the core of this spectacle lies a stark confrontation over the true nature of power. This isn't just a tale of opulent halls and palaces, it's a story of exclusion, of ordinary people forced to watch as decisions are made without them. The real question, who wields power, and who is deliberately kept on the outside? The state banquet at Windsor was a blatant display of exclusivity and hierarchy. Every gilded fork, every meticulously assigned seat, screamed of a system built on privilege and division. This was not about tradition. It was about reinforcing the distance between the powerful and everyone else. Behind closed doors, a global elite congratulated themselves, shielded from the public and their struggles. The event was a carefully staged illusion, an image of unity and control, designed to distract from the reality of inequality and the absence of accountability. Protesters saw through the charade. To them, the pageantry was a mask for deeper injustices, inequality, exclusion, and decisions imposed from above. Their presence shattered the illusion of harmony, exposing the deep rifts beneath the surface. They fought back with people power, collective resistance and defiance. Their marches and chants were a direct challenge to the arrogance of the elite, a demand to be heard from those who refused to be ignored any longer. The protest was a stark reminder. Power does not belong solely to the privileged. It lives in the courage of those who unite, in communities that refuse to accept silence, and in voices that demand justice. For many, this spectacle was a bitter reminder of their exclusion. The display of wealth and tradition only underscored the widening gulf between those in power and those left to watch from the margins. The grand pageantry didn't unite, it divided. As carriages rolled past and barriers kept the public at a distance, the message was clear. The privileged few celebrate, while the rest are kept firmly outside. It was a party funded by the people, but closed to them. For those left outside the gates, the event was a harsh symbol of exclusion, a reminder of who is welcome in the halls of power and who is left out when pageantry takes precedence over the people. As night falls, one question cuts through the spectacle. What did any of this truly achieve? The protest was never about halting a royal charade, but about exposing its hollow meaning. It was a warning. This fight is far from over. The echoes of dissent will haunt these streets, challenging the official narrative. It forges resistance, reminding people they stand against more than just a single visit. Marching together is a rejection of powerlessness in the face of pageantry and politics. The unrest here is fuel, igniting future campaigns and demanding real change. This protest drew a line, defending decency and democracy against empty ceremony. It made clear many refused to legitimize figures like Trump or the institutions that welcome them. That refusal, loud, unyielding, is its own form of victory.